Welcome back to the United Podcast for your first bit of World Cup content. I wouldn't say a Manchester United free zone. We'll try and do our best to keep it a Ronaldo free zone, but I'm sure that'll be a little bit tricky as the discussion goes on. But Manchester United have finished football for a little bit, and all attention does turn to Qatar and international football. I am not a huge fan of international football. However, a Euros come around or a World Cup comes around, I'm the biggest fan, even though I don't sort of support any of the nations too sort of aggressively or too intently. I am always there for an international tournament. I do love it, and got Adam filling in for Larry tonight, which is very good to sort of. We'll touch on Group D in regards to. We were going to go through like all the groups, Group A, B, C, but I had a look at Group A, and really the first game of the season or first game of the tournament is Qatar and Ecuador. Look, we're all fans of the World Cup. That's not one to get the juices flowing. So I think we'll sort of skip on one or two things like that and just sort of look at sort of the Manchester United centric groups in regards to. Obviously, this group has three plays in. Obviously, no Australian players, but Tunisia has Hannibal, Denmark has Christian Eriksen, and France obviously has Rafael Varane. So we'll touch on all those squads, what the Manchester United presence in those squad, what it means. And obviously, in terms of we are an Australian channel, we will have a bit of an in-depth look at the Socceroos. And as Adam's there wearing the Socceroos jersey, maybe he can educate me on our World Cup chances, because off the bat, Adam, when you do look at our group and Australia's chances, we do have the world champions in there in France, and it is a tough group for the Socceroos. So talk to me how you're feeling this week as a Man United fan, as sort of someone who's been following the circus around Ronaldo, and someone who's obviously looking forward to the World Cup, which is only a few days away.
Yeah, looking forward to the World Cup now. Never really had that excitement, obviously, because I think the Premier League took over the excitement, more of the news. But, this Ronaldo situation, absolute mess. But I feel like the clips that were released before this half of the interview has made it look worse than what it actually is. But, I just completely disagree when you're talking about Ten Hag, saying you don't respect him. That's out of order, really. After that, Ten Hag, surely he never pays him again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, I'm sure Ronaldo will come up in all the discussions. It's very hard not to, but it is one of those. It's a debate for another day, especially in regards to what Erik Ten Hag. We'd love to get a press conference from Erik Ten Hag. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But we will get cracking. A few people in the chat. Chris, good to see you, as always, listening while driving home. Keep safe, mate. But I'm always welcome to listen. And Isaac here, Cristiano, in regards to the Ronaldo debate, I did see this in regards to the interview today. Cristiano Ronaldo is not just one of the greatest footballers of all time. He's also an appetite fruit, which he tried to describe to Piers Morgan. And while stupid and sounded silly, I understood where he was coming from. And everyone does want a piece of Cristiano Ronaldo, whether it be in a good or a bad way. So it was very interesting. But obviously, part two is tomorrow. Now, before we kick on the groups, just a reminder, because we are running out of spaces. I think about 10 or 12 spots left in our World Cup sweepstakes. So via the Super Chat option, you can leave a $2 donation, or the Thanks option, a $2 donation. You may have as many entries as you want, but $2 a team will give you a random team in our World Cup sweepstakes. And if your team ends up winning the tournament, you have your choice of either this photo here, signed by Brian Robson, obviously alongside World Cup legend Diego Maradona, and obviously a signed photo of Dennis Irwin, his famous goal at Anfield in the treble-winning season. So if you do fancy one of those and do want to make the World Cup a little bit interesting, feel free to get involved. $2 an entry, and you can have more than one entry if you do fancy your luck. Now, Adam, World Cup. I don't know. I was going to start on Australia, but ultimately the world champions are in the group. So let's show a little bit of respect to the world champions in France. Now, look, I'm a little bit older than you. It's either France or Netherlands. Whenever you go into a World Cup tournament, there's one of them. It's always a circus. It doesn't seem there's a circus around France or Netherlands this time. Now, there is still time. There's a few days. Something that very well could happen. But there's always, whether they're a good squad or a bad squad, there's always there's drama around. But this time seems pretty smooth sailing. Now, obviously, we'll get into the Nkunku injury. The French striker got injured in training, and he won't be in the squad. I'm not sure who they brought up as a replacement. However, I don't know if I just have a different experience in sort of the build-up of the World Cup, but are you sort of quite surprised that there is not so much sort of headlines or drama around the teams, especially when you have personalities like Mbappe and you don't have a Paul Pogba in the squad? That's sort of, even though he's not there, you'd think that's still something that should draw headlines, but it's not really. So give me your thoughts of France ahead of the World Cup.
I thought there'd be more talk about France. Hasn't been much, really. A lot of people writing them off early. I see a lot of the Brazil and Argentina, a lot of people's favourites for the tournament. Brazil got France, not Brazil. France got a lot of big names. surprised. Who knows what could happen within the next couple of days before it starts? Could always have big news, especially with Mbappe. He seems like a bit of a troublemaker himself as well. Like at the Ballon d'Or presentation, in France, all the French people were booing him. Yeah. So who knows what could happen? What could turn around even halfway through the tournament.
Look, I want to stay clear. Well, he's going to come up in the discussion. I'll bring up the France World Cup squad, but you mentioned Kylian Mbappe there, and obviously the name there, and obviously someone who's won a World Cup, he's scored in the World Cup final already. This won't happen. But again, trying to stay clear of the Ronaldo discussion, Mbappe's name comes up in regards to it's a worse signing than Man United could do, but that is the name it's sort of thrown up as the replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo. So Mbappe will have a big tournament, both on and off the field. Rob, good to see. It's a football thing. He'll be live in a little bit less than an hour. I'm sure they'll go through sort of all the groups in the World Cup. So if you aren't subscribed, It's a Football Thing. Go on our socials. You can find it all there and get involved live in a little bit under an hour. And Isaac, I really appreciate the support, mate. A one entry in the sweepstake. Give us Brazil, mate. Well, I can't actually guarantee you Brazil. I will give you a team, but it is randomly drawn. But hopefully you get Brazil and not Canada or a Tunisia. But fingers crossed. But I do appreciate that, and we'll do that live draw in regards to which team or which people get which teams when we do fill all those spots. But I'll bring out the France squad here, Adam, and obviously people can see at the bottom. And Cuckoo is there. This was done a little bit earlier, so I'm not sure who the replacement is. If anyone in the live chat does know who that striker is, please do let us know. But when you do look at that, I think it's hard not to just look at the two glaring omissions. Now, people could say, I'm not sure of the situation around N'Golo Kante, if that's injury or form. Maybe you can clear that up for me. But in regards to just names on paper, no N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba, that is where France are a little bit, I don't want to say weak or lightweight, but they're two glaring omissions in my opinion.
Yeah, Kante out with injury. I don't think he comes back till start of next year. But that's where I look at their squad and feel like that's their weak point, their midfield. A lot of young players in there. And then the old United link, Rabiot, who come out and said he could have joined United, but he would have rather stayed at Juventus. You look at their attack and you think, wow, how can a team like Australia defend for 90 minutes against Benzema, Mbappe, Giroud, Coman, Dembele, and even the defence? You got Saliba, who's been unbelievable this season, the Premier League, Varane. Look like a top squad.
You mentioned all those attackers there, and how do you line up now? Maybe someone who's watched France a little bit, maybe there is a clear answer on what Didier Deschamps does. However, in regards to that, you mentioned all those strikers' names, but the one at the bottom, Antoine Griezmann, he scored in the last World Cup final. I know there's a lot of baggage that comes with him, and there's sometimes drama. But as a player, I think he's one of the best in the world. Now, maybe form maybe doesn't suggest that. But you mentioned all those names, and Griezmann is one almost forgotten about. Now, I don't know if he starts in this France team. I'm not sure. But that goes to show you've just rattled off all these names and left him out. And the manager could very well do that as well. So how, if you were the manager, lining up that attack for France?
Well, I think Benzema's injured for the first game. So if we don't include Benzema, I'd say Mbappe off to the left, Giroud down the middle, and Dembele on the right. That's what I'd play. I think Giroud, he wasn't very good in the Premier League, but the last two seasons for AC Milan, he's been very good. Some of the goals he has scored have been absolutely world-class as well.
Yeah, no, he's definitely kicked on. Well, I wouldn't say kicked on, but maybe just found his groove. Obviously very hard at times at clubs like Arsenal and Chelsea, but obviously doing very well over in Italy now. We'll sort of maybe have a little bit like a prediction on who we think is going to sort of top the group, go and get second at the end when we sort of rattle off all the four, or go through all the four teams. But off the top of your head, and call me out, tell me I'm absolutely dreaming, and I know I'm dreaming in regards to this. This won't happen, like especially maybe with Australia. The group, France should get off to a good start. But there is always this shock in a group, and people have heard me say this before in the last couple of days. I just have a feeling it's always one nation. Could be Spain, could be Brazil, could be Argentina. Just with France, and again, there isn't the circus around them at the moment. But I just think if maybe they get a draw against Australia, which we'll get into a little bit, the possibilities of that. But I have a feeling something will implode with Kylian Mbappe. Now, here I'm saying he's going to score 5 or 6 goals. He could be the top goal scorer in the World Cup. But I just have a feeling, as I always say, and people are sick of me saying it, the worst thing you can do for your World Cup chances is win the previous one. Always, you win the World Cup, next time you go out in the group stage. Yeah. And I've seen France do it before in fascinating style in 2002. It was a primetime World Cup for an Australian fan, as kickoffs were 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m. It was primetime when I was in school. And looking back, France were the 98 champions, come through and lose the first game of their World Cup to Senegal. And I'm just thinking, look, the smart money is on that obviously not happening. But one of the big nations is going to go out. Now, could you see any scenario where that does happen to France, or you just look at the situation with having Tunisia and Australia in the group? No matter how they perform, they should just get over the line, regardless if they play well or not so well.
Well, that's the thing. You look at Australia and Tunisia, both weak sides, nowhere near as good as France. But then think of the World Cup curse. Spain, when they won it in 2010, was it? No, 14. 10.
They won it in 2010 and struggled in 2014.
So I think 2014, I think they may have went out in the groups. Then 2014, Germany won it. And the 2018 World Cup, they got knocked out, I think, in the round of 16 to Japan. And really, Japan are a good side in Asia. Yeah. I think they relied on a Tony Cruz free kick last minute against Sweden, possibly. Yeah. And they got knocked out by Japan in 2018. So we could see it happen again with France. But you just look at their squad, and on paper, it's so strong. You think this France team could win it, but then you also have that feeling, the World Cup curse, where they might go out early. And then the team that finishes second in our group, in Australia's group, Group D, versus the winner of Argentina's group, and Argentina should win their group. So whoever comes second, and I think France is going to finish second in our group, will versus Argentina in round of 16.
Well, you say that, and Rob here is saying Denmark top in the group, and it goes along my thinking of France potentially struggling, which they shouldn't, because they are one of the best squads in the World Cup. But here, three of us, yourself, Adam, Rob in the comments, myself, think France could have a bit of a slow start to this tournament. He has Denmark top in the group as well, and you've sort of alluded to that. So I'll bring up the Denmark squad here. I've gone through it. It looks like it's all written in Danish, but obviously the names do sort of ring a bell in terms of when we do go through it. And obviously from a Manchester United perspective, obviously the main man, Christian Eriksen, is there. Now, I just want to start on Christian Eriksen before we sort of go through a few others in the squad. Just the story. Again, I've lost track of football in regards to how many years and what season was what. Usually I'm all over it, but COVID and behind closed doors football, it's rattled me in regards to remembering how long ago it was. But it was Euro 2000 or Euro 2000 and 2020, but it was played in 2021. So a little bit over a year ago, the situation happened with him on the pitch in the Euros, and here he is, almost the main man for his nation at a World Cup. He's killing it for Manchester United, and he's back on the world stage. Now, regardless if anyone's Danish or doesn't support Denmark, or a French team needing 3 points, everyone in the world is going to be looking at Christian Eriksen, giving him a bit of a standing ovation when he takes the field.
Yeah, for sure. What is it, a year and a half ago, that incident on the field happened. It'd be Denmark's first game in the Euros. Look at it now. No one probably thought he would play football again after that. Year and a half later, he's playing for Man United, scored a goal for Manchester United, and now he's playing in the World Cup for Denmark. It's an unbelievable story.
Is there any other name, which, look, I completely agree. Obviously, the names that do spring out to obviously Man United fans and obviously Premier League fans, you've obviously got Cassius Schmeichel there. You do have Braithwaite now. I'm not sure what his situation is since he left Barcelona, but obviously been playing at Barcelona for a while. So obviously got something a little bit about him. There are names there in regards to Højbjerg and Dolberg that do spring out. But is there anyone there? Obviously, Man United will obviously lean towards Christian Eriksen. But anyone there in regards to sort of pipe up a little bit of interest for you?
Delaney. He plays in the La Liga. What I've seen of him, he's not too bad. And that Damsgaard, he had a very good Euros, and he's a very good free kick taker. I remember he scored that very good free kick against England in the semi-final.
Oh, was that him? Okay, yeah.
No, that was Damsgaard, I'm pretty sure.
I do like their kits in regards to, and look, we're not going to get into a political discussion, but you can see from the image there, and obviously their away kit is a black one. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it, but they've gone along the lines of sort of blacking out all their sponsorships and that in regards to a bit of a mini protest. Now, you can argue what's the point of that in regards to the bigger picture, but ultimately it's something. But I just look at it from an aesthetic looking thing in terms of the way the kit looks, and the kit looks good. Now, whatever motive, and if you agree or disagree, that is another debate. But I really do like the kits there. I think that's something about international football when you can get away from the sponsorships and you can just get sort of old classic kits. But in saying that, what is the best kit of this World Cup? Because it always throws up one, but I'm getting a little bit old in regards to, I used to always be over who has the new kits. I remember Nigeria had it last one. They had the standout kit.
Yeah, the green and white zigzags. Yeah.
But I'm not sure, is this one, is there any World Cup one that sort of stands out for people this year? In the comments, do let us know if there's a classic kit out there.
I think it's maybe the younger generation, the older generation, I'm not too sure, a bit more flashy. The Mexico away kit, I like that kit, and the Germany home kit. It's real, just like a standard kit, white with the black stripe down the middle.
I've seen that one, nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Rob here saying Germany looks good as well. And one of my favourite World Cup kits as well was a German kit. It was the West Germany kit in Italia 90. It was an old classic one. Everyone will remember sort of a line across here, but sort of zigzags up on a diagonal, which they won a World Cup in. It was a very classic kit done by Adidas. But we'll bring up Tunisia now. Now, we're not going to sort of pretend we're experts on the Tunisian team. We just had a bit of a look at their squad a little bit earlier. We rattled off all those names, and you don't even have to look at the names. You just look at the clubs they do play for. And I'll hold my hands up. The only player I do know is Hannibal. So we're going to talk a little bit about Hannibal, but if anyone in the live chat does have any talking points in regards to Tunisia, please do throw them in the chat and we can have a little bit of discussion about it. But Hannibal, first of all, he's a Manchester United player, obviously on loan at Birmingham City. So you obviously do want to see him do well. But ultimately, in regards to what he's doing at Birmingham City, I follow him on Instagram. And now, since I see a lot of Birmingham City sort of stuff pop up on my timeline, they were over the moon with him. Now, I'm not so sure what the situation is in regards to their sort of promotion chances, but they are absolutely loving life with Hannibal. And like, they're sort of, can we get this guy on a permanent deal? Now, I don't know what the Erik ten Hag situation is in regards to how much weight he puts on those loan performances, and if he sees a future for him at Old Trafford. That's a debate for another day. But ultimately, what have you made of the sort of noises around Hannibal this season?
Yeah, I was surprised. I knew obviously he went on loan, but I didn't think he'd play as much as he has. I think he's a regular starter for them now. I don't think he was when he first started, but yeah, if he can keep it up, I don't watch Birmingham obviously, but yeah, from their fans, what I've seen on a bit of Twitter, they are very happy with him, and I think they like what they see.
Does he, again, well, we're not experts and say you have no idea if you don't have any idea. If anyone in the live chat does know, please do let me know. But Hannibal, in regards to, I always see photos of him in the Tunisian kit. He's always sort of gets on the field and he plays, but I'm not sure if he's a starter for Tunisia. I have a feeling he's one of those players who's maybe second or third off the bench. So he's one of those players when I'm tuning into the Tunisia games for this tournament, it'll be simply to watch Hannibal. Now, will I be left disappointed? In the live chat, do let me know how much does he feature, but just your thoughts or any knowledge in regards to how much he does play.
I looked at a predicted lineup for the World Cup for Tunisia beforehand, and they did have Hannibal as starting, but I'm not sure whether it's how much knowledge is going into that actual post that was made, or if it was just they seen he's a Manchester United player on loan to Birmingham, they put him in the squad.
Yeah, look, very well could be a situation in regards to that in terms of, unfortunately, and it's no disrespect to Tunisia, but they're just names you don't really pop up, that pop up on your sort of TV too much. But ultimately, it's sometimes teams like these and players like these that do sort of catapult a career. We touched on earlier in regards to France and Senegal in the 2002 World Cup. Obviously, France, all these stars, Thierry Henry, Zinedine Zidane, all these players, Patrick Vieira, and they get done by Senegal. And that whole Senegal team all sort of catapulted their careers and ended up in the Premier League 6 weeks later and went on to have great careers. So who knows, it could be a Tunisian player this year who steals the show against a nation like France. And who knows, could be playing for Manchester. It could be Ronaldo's replacement in 6 weeks' time. You never know how these things do work. But any thoughts in the live chat around Tunisia? Because you'll be educating both of us. So feel free to throw it in there. Now, we are obviously an Australian podcast, Manchester United centric, but we are here down under, so we will touch on the Socceroos squad. Adam is wearing the Socceroos away kit. I'll bring this squad up here in regards to the squad Graham Arnold has taken to Qatar. It's an interesting one, Adam, because here I am. I live and breathe football. I live and breathe it far too much. Too obsessed with football. I should know everything about this Socceroos team. Unfortunately, I look through that squad and I'm telling you, I know the 3 goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I'm going through, I've heard of 1 or 2 of the defenders. Aaron Moy, I know. And up front, I know Mitchell Duke, Matthew Leckie. Yeah, there's 7 or 8 players in this squad that I know. I have a squad of 26. Now, I hate that. I wish I didn't know. I wish I was far more, I would say respectful, far more keen on the Socceroos team. But unfortunately, that's not the case for whatever reason, which I can sort of dissect in a little bit later on if anyone does fancy that. But just your thoughts on the Socceroos squad, because I look at it, and maybe it's through me, maybe it's because of the way I do follow this national team, but I look at it, and in my opinion, it's underwhelming. Because I remember looking at the 2006 World Cup, which obviously, and it's the golden generation. I understand there's going to be a drop off from that team, but I saw that 2006 Socceroos squad, who obviously went there to win games. They beat Japan, obviously got the result against Croatia. Very unlucky to go out against Italy, who are the defending world champions. So I look at that and what Australian football could be. Now I look at this team and I just think, I can see us, unfortunately, crashing out in dramatic style in this group.
Yeah, there's no big names, like bigger Aussie names compared to even the 2014 World Cup with Mila Jedinak and Tim Cahill in the squads. But I'm not sure. There's a lot of these players like Martin Boyle and who else is it? Harry Suter. They had never been to Australia in their lives. The first time they had been to Australia in their life was to play for the Socceroos, which is
does that bother you in regards to just
it doesn't
regardless
really
of a football
bother me.
point of view?
From a football point of view, yes. Like I got a 27 million or 26 million of population of Australia, and we're relying on players that have never even been to Australia. Their grandparents or one of their parents may have been born in Australia, and that's how they get picked. Same as Jason Cummings. He's just signed for Central Coast halfway through last season. Aussie mother, I think, and now he's in the Australian squad. But yeah, they seem like to be our best players as well.
Well, I saw a stat, and maybe someone can correct me. It was a little bit of trivia. Now, the trivia might be wrong, but maybe Adam, you do know. But it's in regards to that topic. I saw also in regards to managers, no foreign manager has ever won the World Cup with a country. So, if Brazil win the World Cup, it's been a Brazilian manager. The time England won a World Cup, it was the England manager. When Germany win it, it's a German manager. And obviously Australia do have the Australian manager. But in regards to that it pops around sort of the world sort of national team so often in regards to dual nationality and people, should they be eligible? There was obviously the Australian who was linked with potentially playing for Italy, and Australia wanted him, and there was a tug of war between the two. So it always does happen. But I think it ultimately does come down to, yes, you do need good football players to win football matches, but in terms of winning these major tournaments, now Australia aren't in a position to win the World Cup in regards to quality and where we are in our game currently, but there does come a part where there does need to be a solidarity with your country in regards to it is home, and there's that fighting for it. And if someone is away from home, well, for whatever reason, there are obviously very valid reasons in going sort of pursuing a career elsewhere, but if you've never been to Australia, do you really have that sort of fight? Like, we'll look at the Brazilians in terms of how much it's going to mean to them to represent Brazil. Does it really mean that to represent Australia, or are they just this is the national team I can play for because I'm not good enough for the other nation?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I'm not good enough for Scotland and England, which was those players that we named before, so I'll play for Australia. That's the only reason it is. Because if you ask them, would you rather play for, say, Scotland was in the World Cup, would you rather play for Scotland or would you rather play for England? They're choosing the countries they were born in, and respect to them, they're both better than Australia. So that's where it comes. They know they're not good enough to play for their country and never will be, where they were born. But again, if that's the way it is, the rules.
Oh no, they're the rules.
There's a lot of nations like that. Even Morocco, I think there's like 11 or 12 players. They're not Moroccan, or their grandparents are Moroccan, but they're not Moroccan.
Well, I think Qatar as well. I remember when Qatar got the World Cup, must have been about 12 or 13 years ago. There was a big influx of, they bring a lot of South Americans over to Qatar in regards to sort of nationalising them within those 12 years. So they're bringing over the young talent, so they're ready for so it'll be interesting to see that Qatar team. Maybe we'll touch on it.
They've got a lot of Brazilians, Qatar.
Brazilians, I remember that was happening.
They haven't given them like a citizenship. I don't know how they've done it, because if you get a citizenship in Qatar, you get like a free house and all this kind of stuff. I don't know how the rules work over there, but they haven't given them a citizenship. It's just certain. I don't know how they've done it, but obviously they've come to an agreement with FIFA with what to do. But yeah, something like, I think maybe 6-7 of their players are Brazilian.
Yeah. I know, look, if any nation can do it, Qatar, and they know all the back doors in regards to that, but it is part of the rules which you do mention. But Rob here is saying in regards to this, obviously we had this discussion with Australia and Italy, not a massive fan, but it's been definitely happening for years. Chris, just Puck Boys, too many people writing off France. And the Aussie team, I've only heard of 9 players, and it's quite unfortunate. I'm with you in regards to the Australian squad. And look, I don't want to be writing off France because I never tipped the World Cup winner. Last World Cup, I did actually tip France, and it was my one time I've got the World Cup winner right. So I do like the French team, and they should win it. Like, really, if I go through it, I think maybe Brazil is my favourite at the moment. But ultimately, France play well. France have the quality that they should be the best team. But I don't know. Can a team go win it twice? I'm not sure this France team can. But Stephen, good to see you, mate. As always, was watching the Sydney Super Cup, which I'm going to get into as soon as we hang up this call. I'm going to go watch Sydney. I don't know what's the game. Is it Everton and Celtic or Celtic and Sydney?
Celtic and Sydney FC tonight. I think Sunday's Celtic Everton.
Yeah, so if anyone overseas watching, there is a few English or Celtic and Everton have travelled out to Sydney to play a few, I would call them pre-season games, but a few friendlies for the players who aren't involved in the World Cup. So a little bit of football on our doorstep. And also another comment from Stephen here saying, I think we'll find it tough against Tunisia. It will definitely be a better chance to the chance to get the most points in regards to that game. But I'm not convinced about the preparation. Yeah, look, I think every nation will be a little bit concerned about their preparation, but obviously Australia's preparation, I think. I saw a thing, Adam, in regards to, I don't know if it was Channel 9 and Graham Arnold just talking it up, but in regards to obviously Manchester United, but Australia play a lot of their international games, whether qualifiers or friendlies, in Qatar or in that region of the world. So it's sort of quite sort of well-versed in regard to how things work. And they got the best training ground in Qatar. I think they got like almost Qatar's national training sort of venue, and all the other because they knew for years where it was and how to go about it. I think Tim Cahill works over in Qatar, which sort of helped that process along. But in a lot of other countries, whether the big nations, Spain, Brazil, Argentina, France, whoever, who've done very things sort of last minute, have said, oh my God, there's only like 20 football pitches in Qatar. How are we going to work this out? Like, it's such a small nation in regards to the infrastructure of football. They've really got having to, unfortunately, have to sort of get fields and training grounds that aren't suitable for World Cup preparation. Weirdly, Australia actually have the best venue.
Yeah, that you'd be shocked with that. I heard that about Tim Cahill yesterday. He's director for the kids, football director for the kids
a huge academy in Qatar. It's like almost their Australian institute. It's what happens in Qatar. But look, we need every advantage we can get. So look, as much as I've criticised the Australian team and have so many questions and concerns towards them, ultimately when the whistle goes, I'm Australian. I want us to do well. Yeah. Hopefully that can prove the 5%, because my God, we're going to need it against nations like France. Yeah. But before we just wrap up with the last one or two comments, just in regards to that, there's the 4 teams in the group. We've got Australia, Tunisia, Denmark, and France, Adam. We've questioned France in regards to potentially being a bit of a slow start, but give me your 1 to 4 on how you think this group lines up.
I'll go Denmark to win the group, France second, Australia to come third, and Tunisia bottom.
Yeah, now look, so the Tunisia-Australia, I think, can be good from our point of view in regards to, I think we played in 2010. I think it was a game against Serbia. It was a bit of a dead rubber, or I think there was a slight chance to go through. But it was one of those games, last game of the group, just try and just enjoy, go grab a goal, go try and get a win. You know you're not going to sort of get through and progress, but ultimately you do want to win a game at a World Cup. What a buzz that would be for the players. And I think that very well could be our chance against Tunisia. I think it's our second game, is it, Australia-Tunisia?
Yeah, 9 o'clock on next Saturday.
Yeah, actually, that is prime time. It's the best kickoff we're getting here at the World Cup, 9 o'clock on a Saturday night. So everyone will definitely be tuned in to that. But I think that is it's not a friendly to World Cup, but it'll be kind of a bit of a friendly atmosphere, I think. I think both teams will know they'll just go for it. This is our best chance to get something out of this group. They're going to go for it. So I think that will be a good game. Rob, here in regards to what we were talking a little bit earlier, the German have heaps of Polish, Turkish, and French. We're Africa 2.0. Yeah, that French team, obviously, you do look at it, and a lot of Africans have come over, and Qatar have neutralised everyone possible. It'll be interesting. I'll go through the Qatar team maybe before the World Cup starts in regards to having a look at where all these players have come from. Stephen here, the French team have given an easy berth on the group stages, but they aren't going further than that. As Adam says, it's very important, or very sort of luck of the draw on who you get in that next stage. Obviously, there could be some big ties. I saw some people have their sort of predictor sort of ladders, and the round of 16 looks like it should be. There's 3 or 4 potential World Cup finals that are going to happen in the round of 16, which is a good thing. But ultimately, you do want these teams to progress as far as possible. Sam, nice kit, Tom. Yep, definitely one of my favourite Manchester United kits. And just on that, we did have an entry earlier from who was a little bit earlier in the chat. Isaac was good to see enter the sweepstakes, but just 2 players who did wear this kit. Just a last plug before we go in. Dennis Irwin, it's a signed photo from him, and a signed photo by Brian Robson. If you are interested in one of those, for $2 an entry, you can join our World Cup sweepstakes. So you can be drawn a team at random. Hopefully not Tunisia or Australia, but maybe one of the French teams or Brazil. And for $2 an entry, we'll give you a random team. And if your team does win, you can have your choice of one of those photos. You can do that via the super chat, or maybe the thanks option if you're watching on playback. But my mum's here in here, Adam. Good to see you co-hosting the show, Adam, again. Big fan of yours. But any other parting thoughts in regards to that World Cup group? Was there a bit of news I've missed in regards to anything, or any players that we didn't touch on?
Australia for Martin Boyle. He looks like he's not going to be fit. So Marco Tillo from Melbourne City has been flown to Qatar as his replacement. That's if he's not fit.
What do you think of this? The 26 squad, because I always look at 23 and I think 23, I can understand in terms you need a big squad, you need a lot of options. 26, is it too much? Has it just been brought in because when COVID changed football, we have to protect these players? Or do you think it's too much? Because I saw, was it the French team actually named 25? And then I think that eventually added a 26 player. But it was one of those ones where, are we bringing the best players, or are we bringing players for, well, I'm not saying Australia specific, but are we bringing the cream of the crop, or are we just sort of rewarding a few players and coaches are getting one or two favourites in there? Because 26 players, you got 11. Okay, you definitely know one or two who'll come off the bench. That's 13. You got so many who aren't going to kick a ball, and what a great experience! I would go if it was a squad of 50. I would go and happily sit on the bench and sort of lounge around the team hotel. What an experience! Definitely not criticising any of the players for going, but squads of 26. Now, some people might say it's absolutely perfect and there's huge positives I'm not seeing in it, but seems a little bit strange for me.
Yeah, it seems like way too many. Then you have 15. Can you have 15 players on the bench? I'm not too sure.
Also, I don't know. It used to be, you had the 23 on the bench, or you had the 23 in the squad. You could have all on the bench. Like you had your whole team, a second team on the bench you could call upon. I don't know what that issue is now. If I don't know, the bench wouldn't be big enough, like physically big enough to fit everyone. You'd have to have people in the stadium. So I'm not sure if anyone in the live chat does know in regards to how many actually is on the bench. So are people going to be in the World Cup squad but not make the match day squad? I'm not sure how that's going to work. Well, we'll definitely have these answers very soon because the World Cup kicks off in a few days.
Yeah, but Sam, here, a few players who won't even get a game, who won't get any minutes. 26 players. Yeah. It's must be for COVID. Has to be.
Yeah, no, that definitely happens. That's definitely part of it. But Sam, appreciate the support for the channel, mate. Legend, get me in the sweep. I'll definitely put your name down alongside Isaac, and so those spots are filling up. So if anyone else is interested, please do let me know, and I'll put your name down. We'll hopefully draw that. We'll draw it definitely before Sunday. It's unfortunate. I think it's a 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. kickoff here for Qatar v Ecuador, but definitely won't be setting the alarm for that one, but definitely watching it on my way to work on Monday morning. But then obviously then this group will kick off shortly after. But Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure. I think we did very well, not just to sort of discuss all things international football, which we're not sort of all over the top of in regards to news as we are with Manchester United, but I'm more proud of going maybe 31 minutes, 32 minutes in regards to sort of staying pretty clear of any Cristiano Ronaldo talk. I know we did touch on it at the start, but ultimately we've done pretty well, I feel, to keep him out of the discussion.
Yeah, I think it's a bit hard to as well at the moment, considering that's all you're saying at the moment. Just everything's Ronaldo. It's such a bad time as well for it. Garnacho, young player, just scored the winning goal last minute, right before the World Cup. Good finish before the World Cup starts. Young 18-year-old, and it's like within a couple of hours, it's gone. Yeah. Because all you can see is Ronaldo clips all over social media. That's all the talk at the moment. But yeah, it's end of an era for sure.
It is what it is. Well, we'll touch on Ronaldo in regards to the Portugal's chances in a little bit on another video. But God, could you imagine the story? He goes and scores a goal or two. It'll be fascinating what does happen. But look, Ronaldo Part 2 interview is out in about 12 hours' time. So tomorrow morning I'm off work. I'll, if anything is groundbreaking, the full interview today, there was nothing groundbreaking yet. Whatever you saw in the snippets, that was the big news. There was only the thing about Diogo Dalot and Lissandro Martinez. Really, there was nothing groundbreaking. If there is anything groundbreaking in this Part 2 that he does sort of come out with, I will go live. Find someone to go live with. If anyone in the chat does want to, feel free. And we will sort of react to that. And if not, be back tomorrow night with a video about Brazil. Not so much their group, but just the Brazilian squad. We obviously have Alex Telles, Fred, Casemiro, and Anthony. We'll get our good friend of the podcast, Lewis, on, and we'll go through all things Brazil ahead of the World Cup because I think they're many people's favourites. But Adam, pleasure as always, mate.
All right, thank you.
No, and appreciate everyone in the live chat today. And as I said, we'll chat to you in about 12 hours' time with some Ronaldo news, or if not, this time tomorrow with all things Brazil. But until then, hope everyone has a good one, and we'll chat to you. Cheers.